Hi, I'm Nicola Cairncross.
Hi, hello, hey, hi.
I'm going to talk to you about success. Yes.
Hi everyone, it's Nicola here, and as you can see it's evening and it's quite a cool evening, so I've got the fire going, look. And yeah, it's been a bit of a quiet week in Stoupa this week. It's been raining quite a lot of the time. I'm down to the last of my wood pile. That is the last of the wood pile, apart from a few bits on the balcony, so I don't quite know what I'm going to do next. We've been out on the Friday dining club. That's every Friday night. It's sort of funny how little traditions happen, isn't it? Dave, a friend of ours, invited a few of us for dinner at his favourite place in the next village, Agios Nikolaos, and the food was fantastic. We had a really good time, and we've started going out every Friday night now, a small sort of group of 10 of us, and we're sampling all the local restaurants, and we meet up in a local bar called Hades, which is a lot nicer than it sounds, and then we go on for dinner. And I'm sure the local restaurateurs are very keen to see us at this time of year because there's not much happening. It's very quiet. What else has happened? New Right Club episode out, and I've been very busy editing because we record in batches and then we record interviews, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about in the middle section today, about how much of a challenge it is to keep up a regular content production schedule, because I've certainly been struggling with that myself, and I know that Phoebe, my daughter, has been struggling to raise her motivation to make a new YouTube video as well. So we all go through it. Judith and I have had a conversation about it, but I'll talk more about that in the next section. So yeah, have a great week. It's Valentine's Day, but obviously I'm single nowadays, so I've just been largely ignoring it, to be honest. So all these manufactured things, they're all just made up just to make us spend. But once you're out of that loop, it doesn't really matter and you don't really notice. Hope you all had a lovely Valentine's Day if you're in a couple, because that's one of the days that you can actually show each other that you do still care about each other. There you go. I have made a concession to it. Bar humbug. That's what I say. So today I would like to talk to you about how difficult it is sometimes to keep up a regular flow of content creation. I've got a list of 20 challenges, and I'm always talking to clients in my Clicks and Leads site, so I've got quite a good grasp of what my clients' challenges are. And this week it's all been about focus. I'll come back to that. But one of the things I've struggled with today, and I know that my daughter Phoebe is struggling with it this week, is how to keep motivated to keep creating content. Now, the thing is, you know that by being everywhere online and being in as many social media platforms as you can with content of value, it is going to bring you customers. But it sort of feels a little bit woolly sometimes, and especially when on weeks when you don't get so many comments or you don't get any emails about what your content's been about. So you sort of can feel like you're talking into a void. You have to just trust the process, and you have to have some sort of commitment or habit or whatever. So for example, I know that if I don't create this Vzine by, well, I'm a bit late again this week, but if I don't do it by, say, Wednesday or Thursday, then it's going to be difficult for Phoebe, who does the editing, to get it done in time for Sarah, who does the getting it onto YouTube and getting it onto Facebook and all those other places, to get that done in time. So I've always got this niggling sensation at the back of my head that I'm letting people down if I don't do it within a sort of time frame. So that's a good way to force yourself to do things, is to make yourself accountable to someone else. But it also can be very frustrating if the other person doesn't then do what they're supposed to do. Not that that happens in my team, good God no. They're super efficient, my two. It's me that always drags things along a little bit. But yeah, so making yourself accountable to someone else can be a good way to do it. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit now is just how difficult it seems for people to focus. I've got one client who had decided on the last time we spoke that she was going to create all her content in Spanish. There is a huge Spanish-speaking market out there, and she is much more fluent in Spanish than she is in English, although she's got a very charming Spanish accent when she does speak in English, but she's not confident in English. So I said to her, well, just do it all in Spanish then. So she'd already got a website up and running in English. I said, just take the name, turn it into Spanish, get yourself a new domain name, bit of cheap hosting, and start creating all your content in Spanish. And then later on, further down the track, you can pay someone to turn it all into English for you if it's big enough to warrant doing that. But it's much better to get out of the blocks and test something and see if you get any traction than to spend a lot of time prevaricating about whether you should do it in English or Spanish or whatever. Second client I talked to was all about, couldn't make up her mind at all which out of 4 or 5 things she wanted to do. So we talked about her branding her, because she's got a very good outgoing, vivacious personality. So I said, make yourself the umbrella brand, and then you can just talk about all the different things you're interested underneath, and then at some point something will resonate with your audience, and then that'll be the road that you go down in terms of monetizing your site. And today we had another conversation, and she was telling me about how whenever she goes into town, people always say to her, oh, when are you going to open up the Time Out shop again? THYME. And it was a health shop that her and her husband used to run. And they've still got all the branding, they've still got the mailing list, they've still got a lot of the products. I said, well, why not take it online? Why worry about trying to monetize something new when you had something that people loved and responded to, and that you loved and that you would feel fulfilled doing again, but just do it without the hard bits like the shop and the staff and the stock. So I hope, she sounded quite excited by the time she finished that call, so I hope she's gone away to talk to her husband about it. He's the techie one, and he's going to be doing a lot of the tech for her, and she's the front person. And I just really hope that she sticks to that focus now, because all she needs to do, there's about 12 steps to setting up an online business, and then you need about 12 bits of content to get going with. Now, what I'd recommend is that you start with the content, and when you've made about 3 bits of content, you then start building the business steps. And we've outlined those in the Clicks and Leads Academy, along with how to create 12 great bits of content. So I've sent her off to do both things simultaneously, to rebuild the business online and to start creating the content. And I said, start telling the story of the brand, because people want to know where this whole Time Out thing has come from. And if they know it's come from a real shop that you were successful with for a long time, that will give you so much more credibility. So that's what she needs to do. She needs to not get distracted by anything else, keep focused on that brand. The other client needs to keep focused on building everything in Spanish, and I need to keep focused on getting this video to Phoebe as fast as possible. Hope that helped. Do feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or the blog, and Twitter perhaps, and I'd love to hear from you. So, what's on the blog and the podcasts? You have to say it plural. Last week I talked on the Vzine about how exciting the whole Elon Musk thing was, putting a rocket into space, one of the heaviest ones yet. And I included some of the footage for you on that one, so go and check that out, nicolacairncross.com/Vzine, or you can also find it at nicolacairncross.com/blog, and it's episode 55 if you want to find that one easily. And on Vzine 54, basically it was all about trying new fun things and the 90-day Create the Impossible project, which I'm really enjoying and managing to keep up with, which is rather marvellous. So I haven't done today's yet. I'm going to go and sit down and do that with a glass of wine in a minute. And I was on writeclubthepodcast.com last week. I was reading from my new sci-fi novel and talking about writing as therapy. And yeah, that's my first outing for my new sci-fi novel. So if you're into sci-fi in any way, shape or form, go and give it a listen. writeclubthepodcast.com, Reflections and Revelations. That's what we talked about on episode 166, I think it was, we talked about how instead of sort of forcing things it's all from this Michael Neal thing, instead of forcing things, how if you let yourself, if you're not sure about what to do or you're having a bit of a wading through treacle moment, if you just let go and see what happens, and hopefully you might get something reveal itself to you through your intuition and your subconscious. And it's not a very easy thing for me to do, this letting go of the outcome. I like to take some action if I'm not feeling sure, just to move myself along a bit. It's been a day like that today, actually. I've struggled to move everything along a little bit. Everything I've tried has not quite worked out, and the internet's been playing up because we have storms here. Now, why that should affect internet that I think comes by cable, I've got no idea. But it does, so it's been one of those frustrating days. But yeah, so instead of forcing things, I've had a little sit down and I had a little read of a book. I had a cup of tea earlier when I got really frustrated, and I went out to bring some wood in from the wood pile, the last of the wood. So I think getting up and moving away from your desk and changing your environment and taking some physical exercise is always a good move, because it alters your state of mind and it lets your subconscious get to work. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, and you can find all of that on the Vzine and the blog and the YouTube channel and the Facebook page and sometimes the LinkedIn profile. But wherever you are, please comment below. Tell me what you think of the Vzine. Tell me whether you've got anything particular you'd like me to cover, because sometimes it just feels like I'm talking into space. Outer space. So I do love to hear from you in the comments. Speak to you soon. Have a great week. See you soon.